Hi, I'm Tony Ruggiero, host of the Dewsweepers for over a dozen years. For the last 12 years or so, I've had the best seat on any lesson tee in the world. I've had the opportunity to bring to you the best information to help you play better golf. I've had the opportunity to learn from myself and interview the greatest teachers, mental coaches, fitness, and equipment experts in the game today. Many of them have gone on to become some of my best friends and the biggest influences of my teaching. Now, as the Dewsweepers has kind of moved on and morphed and changed shape, I'm going to bring back some of the very best insight, the greatest teachers, and occasionally some of the best players in the game, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening from these lessons from the legends, if you will. And I'm going to start this podcast series off with a best of, with the opportunity I had to sit down with my idol growing up. He was my favorite player. He still's my favorite player. And I think when you listen, you're going to understand why they call him Gentle Ben. Truly one of the great gentlemen of the game. And I still remember when getting out of college, watching him win his last Masters. I remember crying with him on the 18th hole, 18th green. It was truly one of the highlights of my dozen years hosting radio, was the opportunity a couple times to sit down and interview two-time Masters champion, winning Ryder Cup captain, Ben Crenshaw. I hope you will enjoy our talk.
We're back on the Dewsweepers. Here's your host, Tony Ruggiero.
Welcome back into the Dewsweepers, everybody. I am pleased to have join us two-time Masters champion, Ryder Cup captain, and World Golf Hall of Fame member, as well as my idol playing golf in San Antonio, Texas, Mr. Ben Crenshaw. Ben, how you doing this morning, and thanks for joining us on the Dewsweepers.
I'm fine, Tony. Thank you for having me on.
Ben, part of the Dewsweepers here, what we try to do is help golfers of all skill levels, people that are passionate about the game, learn to play better. And one of the things I would like you to talk about as a teacher, I'm always striving to find simple ways to help people play better and not make it so complicated. Would you mind sharing with some of our listeners just some of the things that you took from all of your years with your teacher, Harvey Penick, there in Austin, some of the things that he helped share with you that helped made you such a great champion and a great player?
Well, first of all, not only myself and Tom Kite and so many players here in the Southwest were just blessed to have grown up around Harvey Penick. He taught for the ages. He was very, very concerned about wanting to try to help a player, whether it was young or old, enjoy the game. First of all, he wanted people to get into the game, and he wanted to keep them there. He dedicated his life towards that. He was very much a fundamentalist, meaning that he said everyone can execute a good grip. It does provide the basis by which the correct set of muscles in the hands and arms can perform a correct movement. He said, now there's other ways to do it. He said there's always going to be a player with a bad grip and a bad swing, but could really play. He said that player's dangerous. So I think what I'd like to say is Harvey injected reality in teaching, meaning that really, and not everyone can swing the club like Payne Stewart did, or Tom Pertzer can, or Tom Weiskopf. He said there's a lot of ways to do it. He said we're all built differently, every one of us. Harvey really, really believed in that. He said over the course of his teaching, he said he really firmly believed that 90% of the mistakes that are made in a golf swing happen before the ball's hit. And that is a fascinating statement because he really did want people to pay attention on their aim and their ball position and the club face angle. Now, those are seemingly very unexciting ways to think about the golf swing, but he was very much in the belief that when you're set up over the ball and your feet and the ball is in a certain position in your stance, and the club face is aimed just so. He said 9 times out of 10, your subconscious is going to swing. In other words, what you see down before you, you see how you are lined up, and in your mind, you're going to swing towards that. He said a player that puts the ball up in their stance, let's say towards the left foot, and somebody who changes and puts the ball back in their stance, it's going to be seemingly the same swing, but it's going to have a different result. So people can make experimentations and different calculations just by putting the ball in a different spot in their stance. He was very much wanting people to try to find out the bottoming out of their swing. He very much believed that. He said some people are going to swing and their bottoming out is going to be a little up in the stance. Some people like it a little bit further back. We're all different that way. But a good grip starts the proper set of movements. The very first thing that he would look at a player or a pupil that he'd never seen, he was going to look at their grip first. But Tony, the most fascinating thing about Harvey was that if you were about to take a lesson from Harvey, he would want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you and spend a little bit of time studying you. And believe me, he was studying your every countenance. He was going to see what kind of body style that you had, whether you had long arms, short arms, what your torso looked like, whether you spoke fast or whether you spoke slowly. He was studying your temperament so that he could give you a set and a prescription of what he thought he could tell you. He was studying far more than your golf swing.
Ben, we've got just a little over right around 2 minutes left. If you wouldn't mind, this is just fascinating stuff, and you can tell how passionate you are about it. If you were going to tell me something as a teacher that I could pass along to a junior golfer that I'm developing, one thing that I could do with them that would help them enjoy their career, get the most out of it, what would it be?
I think Harvey, he wanted youngsters to start out early. There's no question. 7 and 8 and 9 years old is a nice age to start. But he said let them have fun. He would present very little instruction to those players, but what he did want to do is cultivate somehow in a youngster the importance of the little shots. And Harvey started teaching from the cup backwards, which is a little bit different than what it is today. I mean, the very first thing that most parents and some instructors go out and they go right to the practice tee and they start swinging and they start giving a few lessons. What Harvey found that was useful, sure, you can hit as many balls as you want, but you should end up somewhere around the green and on the green, because he wanted the value of the short game and the feel of those little shots to reverberate throughout the full swing. Now, the first little shot that I learned as a kid was a little 7-iron plain chip from off the green, and Harvey was definitely old school in that he thought that you do not loft the ball unless you have to. He wanted the ball that played close to the ground. He wanted the juniors to execute a proper little chip, a very plain little chip. In other words, you tried not to loft the ball up in the air. He wanted that firm, crisp little contact with the hands just barely leading the club head through the swing. That person or that youngster is not going to try to help the ball up in the air. He very much believed that because what he thought was that same action mirrored the full stroke. So he wanted little kids to feel that and keep the ball next to the ground. He thought that was the safest shot to play. But putting, chipping, little shots around the greens, he thought was vitally important for because it has so much to do with scoring later on. But and have the kids start with some loft of the club. It's very hard for a little youngster to hit a driver. Get some loft in their hands, and then that way they won't help the ball up in the air so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Best of luck to all your pupils.
All right, thank you so much. We'll look forward to talking with you again. The Dewsweepers Golf Show will be back next week with more help for your golf game.
You've been listening to the Dewsweepers Golf Show, brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf, with your host, Tony Ruggiero. Equipment reviews, Robbie Adams. Executive producer, Ralph Carroll. And producer, John Stewart. Join us next week in the quest to help you improve your golf game.